What is bidding and why should you care? Bidding is the act of placing an offer on an NFT regardless of its listing status. Bidding, done right, will get you better prices and will allow you to get some unique deals. Why is bidding so important? Well, it's a classic strategy in sales. Bargain for something and resell it for more. Bidding allows you to offer any amount of money to someone and they will accept your offer if they feel it's good enough, regardless of the current floor price. This works particularly well on collections with consistent volume, a relatively steady floor price, and a strong community. If your bid gets accepted and you've bought below the current floor price, you can then resell the item for a quick and easy profit at floor value. It may not be a huge profit on one NFT, but some traders will do this day in and day out on hundreds of items, and over time it accumulates a lot of gains. So let's quickly cover the two most common ways to use the bidding feature. The first one is floor bidding. The goal here is to get anything as long as you can get it below the floor price with still enough margin to make a profit by reselling it at floor value. For example, if the floor is 1 Ethereum and you bid 0.8 Ethereum, then even after the fees and the royalty, you would still be in profit. This is by far the easiest way to bid, and you would be surprised at how many people accept bids below the floor. If you're not bidding, you're leaving money on the table. Let's take a look at a collection that fits our criteria: consistent volume, steady floor price, and a strong community. The Beans collection by Azuki ticks all those boxes. Currently, the floor price is at 0.8 Ethereum, and we can see in the last 30 days, it's moved between 1.5 and 0.8 Ethereum for most of the sales. Beans, we have a 5% royalty fee, 2.5% OpenSea fee, which is a 7.5% total fee. That means with a floor price of 0.8 Ethereum, I need to buy at 0.74 Ethereum or below to flip at floor and break even. To calculate your potential profit, you need to take your sell price minus the purchase price, the listing fee, and the royalty. If you place a bid, you do not pay gas, the seller does, which is nice and it's already a little saving. You will still pay a listing fee if it's your first time listing the collection though, so don't forget that. Now let's look in the sales activity tab to see if some offers would have been profitable recently. Okay, so here we have an offer accepted 3 hours ago at 0.736, which would have been profitable but very little. So let's keep scrolling down. Here we have one sale at 0.7 ETH, which would have been a 0.04 Ethereum profit at the current floor. Two more sales right below 16 and 17 hours ago for 0.73 Ethereum each, so a very small profit of 0.01 on each. All these happened in the last 18 hours, and you could have at least a 0.05 profit altogether, which doesn't sound like much, but if you're doing this on 3, 4, 5 collections every day, it quickly adds up. Floor bidding is fun and will deliver on teaching you how to make consistent gains by being proactive. You will be able to turn around some quick trades, and if you do it on a few collections at the same time, it can become really interesting. The more you know a collection, the more chances you have to spot the good deals, and that's when you can really move to the next level. Trade bidding is the second most popular way to use bidding and by far the best when you master it. We will stick with the Beans collection here to see how you could take advantage of the market and make some profits. To use trade bidding, we first need to find a trait that sells and sells higher than the current floor price. Usually, distinctive traits will affect the price of your NFT the most. Having a unique accessory, clothing, or skin color will usually be the strongest categories to look at. Let's hop in Compass and look at the trade sales history and floor price to get an idea of where the market is. We will keep it simple and look at the skin color on the beans. Here, the trait is called type. As said earlier, we care about volume and trade price, so I will sort the list by all-time sales. Now, I can clearly see that the red and blue beans generate the most sales, but the blue bean supply is much lower at 10% of the collection versus 18% for the red beans. Also, the floor price for the blue beans is much higher at 0.94 Ethereum, which is great news. We have a fairly large supply, so here we know there will be volume on this specific trait, and we have a healthy room between the floor price and the trade price. This type of information is not directly available on OpenSea, but you can still figure it out for free if you don't have access to any tool. You can select the traits of a category one by one to see the floor price. If I check red bean, I can see the floor is at 0.8 Ethereum, and it's the largest supply at 3,718 NFTs with this trait. Below are the other trait colors with lentil, edamame, black bean, and here is the blue one with a floor price of 0.94 Ethereum. Unfortunately, you cannot see the all-time sales or volume for the trait in OpenSea, and that could lead you to choose another trait / color to play with, and that's why we always recommend using analytic tools to make your decision with as much data as possible. Now, we know the floor price for blue beans is 0.94 Ethereum, so let's look in the activity tabs to see if blue beans sold recently. This one sold for 1.03 Ethereum 4 hours ago. But if we scroll down, we have one sale for 0.74 4 hours ago, another one for 0.79 13 hours ago, and one more at 0.73 12 hours ago. To give you a live example of a flip in the making, this blue bean is on sale for 0.95 Ethereum, but was only bought 2 days ago on a bid offer for 0.79 Ethereum, which is well below the floor at that time. And that's a potential profit of 0.25 Ethereum if it sells. And as we saw, the floor price is currently at 0.94 Ethereum, so this is quite likely to happen. Now, if you're only bidding on 5 NFTs, it's quick enough, you can do it manually, but there are better ways to bid. Using a bidding tool will allow you to use dynamic buying and set specific parameters like bidding on an entire collection, although now OpenSea allows you to do that, but quite in a basic way. Set a limit by order, so you can buy more than one NFT if your bid is successful. Dynamic pricing, meaning you can change your bidding automatically depending on what the competition or the markets are doing. Auto bid pause, if the floor price drops below or above a certain point, you can stop bidding and cancel your bids automatically. There are a ton of new features and tools constantly coming up, and you really have to stay up to date to beat the market. The best thing to do is to make friends in the bidding scene, study the collections you are interested in properly, share some tips, and learn from others. Now we've covered the bidding styles, we need to understand some of the technical fundamentals of bidding with Ethereum NFTs. You need to use an alternative currency called wrapped Ethereum. Wrapped Ethereum is a currency that allows the user to make pre-authorized bids that can be fulfilled at a later date without any further action from the bidder. Wrapped Ethereum is exchanged for Ethereum, and you can do that directly in MetaMask. It's important to understand that because that is what makes the bid possible, as you pre-approve what you're willing to pay on the bid, and the receiver can approve the bid and the transaction at a later date. On OpenSea, you can spot some bids as the Ethereum logo is pink instead of gray. That means it's a wrapped Ethereum offer. To find out if people are bidding, go to the collection on OpenSea, then check in the activity tab and look for offers. If you see many bids in the last 24 hours, then the collection likely has some traction. Otherwise, people would not be bidding on it. Checking accepted bid is also an excellent thing to do, as it shows you the average offers that recently got accepted. Also, if you check on OpenSea, next to the floor price, the current best offer is displayed. It's an important thing to know, as you want to know where the bid floor is going to be. That way, you can calculate how much profit will be made if you get a bid accepted at the current bid floor. To get wrapped Ethereum, you need to swap it with Ethereum at first. To do that, open your MetaMask extension and click on Swap. Then, you can select the currency you have. Here, we want to choose Ethereum, and the currency you want to swap or receive in exchange, the wrapped Ethereum. You can now see the next window in MetaMask, and you select the amount of Ethereum you want and the wrapped Ethereum token. When you are sure about the amount you want to swap, press Review the transaction, and then you will get a new window showing you the amount of wrapped Ethereum you will receive, plus the gas to pay for the swap. If you're happy with everything, click on Swap, and that's it. The transaction will be processed in a few seconds, and you will receive your wrapped Ethereum, and it will appear in your asset list in MetaMask. One of the cool things about bidding on NFTs is that you have what is called bidding power. In other words, you can bid multiple times the amount of wrapped Ethereum you have, actually up to 1,000 times. For example, if you have one wrapped Ethereum, you can then do 1,000 bids of one wrapped Ethereum or 2,000 bids of 0.5 wrapped Ethereum. That means you can place multiple bids on a collection and get a higher chance of having someone accepting your bid. Another important thing to remember when you place bids is the bid duration. If you are only bidding manually on one or two items, it's quite irrelevant. But when you start using tools to mass bid, it really starts to matter. As said earlier, you can bid 1,000 times your wrapped Ethereum amount, so you can only have a certain amount of bids live simultaneously. If you are bidding on an entire 10K collection, it quickly adds up and you may run out of bidding power. Now we know this, it makes sense to place short bids. A few hours is plenty. Avoid going over 1 day as a rule of thumb because most of the offers will get accepted within 6 to 12 hours.